On the 2nd of February, 1959, 9 experienced hikers made camp on a bare slope in the northern Urals. They had food, fuel, a stove, boots, heavy coats, everything they needed to survive the night. Sometime after dark, something happened inside that tent. They cut their way out from the inside and ran into the snow barefoot and half-dressed, in temperatures near 30 below. Within hours, all 9 were dead. 60 years later, we still do not know why. What were they running from? They were students, mostly, from the Ural Polytechnic Institute in the Soviet city of Sverdlovsk. Young, fit, serious about the mountains. The group was led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, an experienced trekker whose name the world would come to attach to the place they died. There were 10 at the start. One man, Yuri Yudin, fell ill early and turned back. It saved his life, and he would spend the rest of it haunted by the friends he left behind. The remaining 9 pressed on toward a slope the local Mansi people called Kolat-Syakhl. The name translates chillingly as Dead Mountain. On the night of February 1st, they made camp on its exposed face, a decision investigators would puzzle over for decades. They pitched one large tent, ate, and settled in. They were never seen alive again. When the group missed its return date, no one panicked at first. Delays were common. But as the days stretched on, worry hardened into dread. In late February, a search party set out. What they found on that slope has never been fully explained. The tent. Searchers found it first, collapsed, half buried in snow. And they found something that made no sense. The tent had been cut open from the inside. Someone had taken a knife to the canvas and slashed their way out, rather than use the entrance. Inside, everything remained. Boots, coats, food laid out. Whatever drove these 9 into a lethal winter night, drove them out so suddenly they left behind the very things that would keep them alive. The footprints. Leading away from the tent, down the slope, a trail of prints in the snow, some in only socks, some barefoot, heading in one direction, away from shelter, into the dark, toward a tree line nearly a mile below. They had walked, not scattered in panic, walked, together, into cold that kills an unprotected person in hours. The first bodies. At the edge of the forest, beneath a tall cedar, searchers found the remains of a fire and 2 bodies, both men, dressed only in underwear. Branches on the cedar were broken as high as 15 feet up, as if someone had climbed it, desperately, to look back toward the slope, or to watch for something coming. The ones who turned back. Between the cedar and the tent lay 3 more, including Igor Dyatlov himself. Their positions told a story. They had died trying to return to the shelter, crawling uphill against the cold. They didn't make it. 5 of the 9, now accounted for. All appeared to have died of hypothermia. Strange, but survivable as an explanation. Then the snow melted, and the last 4 were found. The ravine. In a ravine deeper in the forest, under nearly 4 meters of snow, lay the final 4. And their injuries changed everything. 2 had crushed chests, 1 a fractured skull. The force required, said the medical examiner, was like a car crash. Yet there were almost no external wounds, no broken skin, as if they had been crushed by an enormous pressure. And one of them, Ludmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue, her eyes, and part of her lips. The radiation. When their clothing was tested, some of it carried elevated levels of radiation. Where it came from, the official investigation never satisfactorily explained. The case closed in 1959 with a single haunting phrase. The cause of death, investigators wrote, was a compelling natural force the hikers could not overcome. They never said what that force was. So what killed the Dyatlov group? Over 60 years, the theories have multiplied. Let's weigh the serious ones. 1. The avalanche. The conventional answer: a slab of snow gave way above the tent. The group cut their way out and fled downhill to safety, meaning to return once it settled. The crushing injuries, in this view, came from the weight of the snow. For decades, skeptics rejected it. The slope wasn't steep enough. No classic avalanche debris was found. And why flee a mile downhill? But in 2020 and 2021, a Russian investigation modeled a slab avalanche, a smaller, delayed slide that could occur on a shallower slope after the hikers cut into the snow to pitch their tent. Their conclusion? An avalanche was the probable cause. For many, that closed the book. For others, it raised as many questions as it answered. 2. The mountain itself. Under certain conditions, a slope can generate katabatic winds, sudden, violent downslope gusts, or infrasound, low-frequency waves, inaudible, but capable of inducing intense dread in the human body. In this version, the group was overwhelmed by a wave of inexplicable terror, cut their way out, and fled, victims of a storm as much psychological as physical. 3. Paradoxical undressing. The hikers found partially undressed have a known explanation. In the final stage of hypothermia, the body misfires. Victims feel a false, burning heat and tear off their own clothing. It's documented in freezing deaths. And the missing soft tissue on the body in the ravine is consistent with months of exposure to water and scavengers, not violence. Grim, but natural. 4. The human explanations. Then the darker theories. That the group stumbled onto a secret Soviet weapons test. The radiation is often cited here. That they were silenced. The Cold War secrecy around the original investigation, the sealed files, gave these ideas room to grow. Most lack hard evidence, but in a case this strange, the absence of a clean answer is exactly what keeps them alive. In 2021, the official position settled on the slab avalanche, the most scientifically grounded answer we have. And still, it does not sit easily with everyone. The crushing injuries with no external wounds, the radiation, the high branches broken on the cedar. The choice, by 9 experienced mountaineers, to abandon their only shelter and walk into a Siberian night. Maybe the mountain simply moved, and the rest is the ordinary horror of the cold. Or maybe, on the slope the Mansi called Dead Mountain, something happened that the evidence still can't quite hold. 60 years on, the tent is still cut from the inside, and we are still standing outside it in the dark, trying to understand what made 9 people run. What do you think drove them out? Avalanche? Or something the record still won't name? Tell me in the comments.